I got something exciting for you. You want to learn automation, you want to learn Ansible, but you do not know where or how to start? I got you covered. I built something amazing that will allow you to get started with any Ansible project in mere seconds. Here are the timestamps for those who cannot wait and want to jump ahead. Now, let me show you what I built for you. I'm Garrett, and this is TheFatRat. So, what did I build for you? I built you a Ansible project template. Now, this template will allow you to get started or learn Ansible in mere seconds. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the template, then I'm going to show you how it works. And the best part is this template comes with its own built-in playground. So you can actually quickly test stuff out, try and learn Ansible in an easy way. So why did I build this template? Well, when you're working with Ansible, when you're working with automation, you try to accomplish certain tasks quickly and efficiently. However, your project is actually part of that, and be able to quickly use your project without going through any kind of upgrades. Hey, does this still work, or it stopped working? But you quickly need to perform a certain task like updating servers or managing a configuration change. Having a project set up that always works and is able to quickly perform that task saves you a lot of time. So setting up your project in the right way takes time in the beginning, but will save you a lot of time. That is one of the main reasons why I built this template. Also, it allows you to test out and develop certain Ansible tasks, roles, playbooks without you interacting with the production servers. So you can quickly test out, hey, does this work? Does this accomplish what I need? And to have a project template that also comes with a built-in playground where you can actually use and set up and test things out actually saves a lot of time. And moreover, you do not want to make a mistake on production servers. So this template is built to facilitate all of that. And the best part is it works straight out of the box. Now you do need a few requirements to use this template, and there are only two. You will need Docker installed, Docker Desktop, for example. You can just install it from docker.com. I will put a link down below. And you need Visual Studio Code. You need an editor. And if you have those two and you have the dev container plugin for Visual Studio Code, you have your environment to play with Ansible or to start your project up and running in a few seconds. So I'm going to run you through the template and show you what is all included. So the project template I'm providing you guys, I put it on GitHub. I will put the link down below and you can just grab it and start playing with it. So let's run through the template. So the project can be found on my personal GitHub and it's called Ansible template. Now it comes with a lot of perks. It has a default empty setup for Ansible, which is easy to get started with, but it also comes with a lot of nice features regarding dev containers. Now, I'm not going to go in full depth about what a dev container is, but basically it's a Docker container that is started from this repository, from this project, that will set up Ansible, Ansible lint to make sure you don't have any syntax errors, and you can just straight out use it, give Ansible commands, test things out, or just update your servers with your own playbooks. Now, here's the thing. The dev container, I've made some changes to it to ensure that you have a lot of nice features. For example, when you restart your dev container, it will have still a full history of every command you typed in your terminal. Furthermore, if you have any scripts you need to run, like your own bash scripts in your repository or in your project, there's actually a folder pre-configured where you can just put in your scripts and you can then run them straight from the console without going through the difficulties of setting up path and all kinds of technical details how to make sure that you can execute your script. It's all included. Furthermore, I want to point out that the repository actually has full documentation. So I put a lot of documentation in there, how everything is organized, which environment it can run on. So it is compatible with Mac OS, it's compatible with Linux, Windows. You just need Docker installed, like Docker Desktop, and you need Visual Studio Code. I also put in, regarding Visual Studio Code, I put in which plugin you need, because you do need at least one plugin, and that is the plugin that allows you to start a dev container, an isolated container just for this project with all the goodies installed. Then what we have further is information about how everything works with SSH, because the best part is that you want to be able to connect to your servers, and Ansible does that over SSH. But you might want to make sure that the SSH configuration on your laptop does not get overwritten, or that for some reason the project overrides stuff you don't want to do. So this project is configured in such a way that it is safe to use. So it's still going to use the SSH from your host machine, from your laptop, but it will do it in a read-only mode for any keys that's already there. So this project will not touch your existing SSH keys. This project will create a subfolder in your SSH configuration called Ansible, and there it will place the keys, etc. that's going to use and that you can use for your servers, so that it will not affect your standard SSH keys you already have. You can make, of course, changes to it, but I wanted to make sure everything was as safe as possible. There are a few exceptions, which is that your SSH config and your known host file, those will be mounted in your dev container with write permissions, because you need to be able to make changes to it. But overall, it's a safe setup, which is important. The container comes further with something called Ansible Vault. And Ansible Vault is the way where you can have secrets like passwords or stuff like that for any kind of configuration. You can store that safely encrypted in a repository in your files. And the password file itself will remain on your laptop in a file which will be linked to your dev container. You have to put a password in yourself, of course. That's, of course, not provided. And it is explained in the documentation that you can see right here. You just have to put your password, echo it, and pipe it through the file. And then it will get mounted into your dev container. And this is to ensure that the password itself remains outside your project. So if, for example, you decide to clone this project or to commit this project to a Git repository, you can actually use and encrypt passwords, but the password to encrypt and decrypt is not part of it. So it's safe. Now, then we also have something called Ansible Galaxy. Ansible Galaxy is an online repository where people can put roles or playbooks, tasks, all kinds of modules, collections, and roles for Ansible. And you can download them, and with that you can extend your Ansible. For example, you want to have a module that does a certain task on a server, that modifies certain things on a server. Instead of building everything from scratch, you can just pull that in. Now, the template that I'm providing you guys with is set up in a way that you only have to list the collections or the roles in the configuration file for Ansible Galaxy in the requirements YAML. And then when the container starts or restarts, it will automatically update and pull in those collections and roles, which makes it a lot easier for you. No more manual searching how everything works. You just put it in and it works. I put a reference to the Ansible documentation, of course, in the documentation. And now the best part, it comes with a playground. So the dev containers, there are actually two provided in this template. You have the standard development container called Ansible, and that is what you use when you want to use your project, when you want to do the Ansible task, etc. Now, the second dev container is called Playground. Still does the same thing as the first one. The difference is this one is modified to allow Docker in Docker, which means that the first container can access your local network and you can actually connect to servers, etc. And the Playground can do that too. So the Playground dev container still can access servers in your local network. However, it also has Docker in Docker, which means that inside the development container, there's another Docker that runs the Playground. And there's even scripting provided where you can simply give the Playground command to start, stop, restart, reset, or destroy the Playground. And with that, you can easily test stuff out and learn or work with Ansible or try things out, new things you need to modify on your servers. So when you either start the template in Visual Studio Code, or when you choose the option switch container as explained, what you can see on the screen, it will give you a pop-up. Which of the two containers do you want to start? Do you want to start the default Ansible without the Playground, or you want to start the Playground container? And here are the commands where you can, inside the development container, you can give the Playground command and you can start, restart, stop, destroy, even reset the Playground. And it will simply wipe the Playground so you can quickly start over, try again. The Playground itself, it starts 3 servers of Ubuntu. It's easy to change if you need to, but that's part of another video because the Playground comes actually from a different GitHub repository. It will pull in that Playground and start it. So yeah, that's it. There's also additional commands I loaded into this development container. And that allows you on the terminal in the container, in your development environment, to quickly issue Ansible commands against the Playground. So instead of using the Ansible command to interact with your servers from your inventory, you can use the Ansible Playground command with the same kind of playbooks, roles, or tasks you have written. However, because you're using the Ansible Playground command, it will use a different inventory and run those commands against the Playground. And with that setup, you can quickly test, play around with Ansible. Now, I'm going to show you how this all works. Let's grab the template to get started. So you want to jump to github.com/ggrtimmer/ansible-template. And here we are. I will put the link down below so it's easy to find. And what you want to do is you want to grab the Git URL. Now, and what we're going to do is we're going to assume that you have Git installed. If you have Mac, it should already be there, or you just have to install it very quickly through Homebrew. If you have Windows, you have to install the Git client. Same for Linux, you have to install the Git client for your OS. So let's grab that and jump to a terminal. And quickly, we are in our terminal and we're gonna say git clone and paste the link. And we're cloning our Ansible template. This should only take a few seconds and we're done. Now, we wanna jump straight to our template and we wanna use it. So let's do that now. So there are two ways of opening. Now, what you can do is you can go to the terminal, you can go into the just cloned repository of the template, and on Mac and in Linux and even in Windows, but then only in WSL, you can, when you are in the repository directory, like I'm here right now, you can simply give the command code.current directory and it will load VS Code and open your project. Now what I am gonna do is I'm gonna just open it in VS Code. So let's jump to VS Code and open our template. Now, just know that because I have that plugin already installed for dev containers, it will straight up start asking me questions. Don't worry, I will walk through them step by step with you. So let's jump to VS Code. And let's open the project. So I got it here set up, Ansible templates, and open. And here we are. So we now have our project open and you can see here straight at the bottom, it's gonna ask multiple questions. So the top one right now is it will ask you to install the extensions that are recommended for this repository, and it just jumped away. The dev container pop-up jumped away. Now, don't worry, I will show you how to open it. It will ask you for the recommendation of the plugins. So I pre-configured a list of plugins that you should have for this repository, which means that you can have it in the current setup when you are running your repository just in standard non-development mode. Now, when you run the development container, the dev container, it will actually take care of auto-installing those. So we can actually, for now, we can ignore this recommendation because the dev container will install it. Then the big question is, how do we start a dev container? Because previously we had a pop-up that will ask, hey, I detected a dev container. Do you want to start it? Before we do that, we have to make sure Docker is running. Now, I have Docker already running in the background. I'm using Docker Desktop. I have it all running. So now we need to start the container. And it's good to know how to do this through the command palette instead of just hoping that you click in time on a pop-up. Now, VS Code has what's called a command palette. And how do you open it? Well, a lot of people think, hey, it pops up here at the bottom. It's not showing here. Well, the command palette is opened with a shortcut. And for Mac, that is Command Shift with P. And on Windows and Linux, you can open it with Control Shift P. When you press the shortcut, you have your command palette. Now, the difference is that you can identify the command palette by the caret it starts with. And what you're going to search for is dev containers, and you will get all the commands of the installed dev container plugin I talked about earlier. Now, before we're going to continue, let me show you where that is. Here on the right, because I have my menu list on the right, you can move it around with your own personal settings, your own personal preference. You can go to the extensions, which is this little icon with the squares. And here you can see all the extensions I have installed. Ansible, Coder, and here we have the dev containers installed. Now, if you don't have that one installed, you can simply search for dev containers and it will pop up and it will ask you, because after already installed, you can say click install. When it is done, it will either ask you to reload the window or to restart the extensions, and then it is installed. Now, let's go back to the command palette. For me, that's Command Shift P. For Mac, for Windows and Linux, it's Control Shift P. And here we have, so dev containers. And the only thing you have to do to get started with Ansible is rebuild, and reopen in container. That's it. So let's choose that option. And here we have what I talked about in my earlier section. This template comes with 2 development containers. The standard Ansible that you can use when you're working with your servers, your development, and you don't want to deal with the playground. And we have the playground container. It's literally the same as the Ansible container, but it includes a playground. So the playground container is also able to connect to your network, to all your servers. But you have a additional Docker running inside the development container that can run the playground. Now, for this demo, let's start with the standard Ansible container first. It took a few seconds to get started, but now you will see actually it will do some initialization on your host, make sure that it doesn't overwrite your SSH. And we're already done. Gives me a warning about monospace fonts, but I ignore it. And as you can see at the bottom, done, press any key, close the terminal. What you can see here now at the bottom left is dev container, and we're running the Ansible at desktop Linux because it's a Linux container. And at the top right, we can see we are in the directory work, which is /work in the container. And we're running the development container Ansible. This is all you need to get started. And it actually, the repository comes with a standard, almost empty inventory file. It will just give you how to make your own inventory. You set it up and you can get started. If you need anything regarding your development container, when you want to have your own scripts in your repository, do some custom tasks related to what you're doing, place all your scripts in the .bin folder in the repository here, and it will work out of the box. You have to set the executable bit. However, that's all. Now, if we open a terminal with command tilde, we are in our Ansible project, in our environment, and we can start with Ansible. That's pretty cool. But this is to get you started on your actual work, on your actual project. Now, there might also be a moment where you need to work with a playground, where you need to test things out. And that's what I'm going to use to show you also how to take you a first and initial steps with Ansible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch containers, and you can do that straight from your current project. So if you're working on your project and you need to switch dev containers, you can actually do that and still keep all your work you've been working on. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up command palette again with either Command Shift P or Control Shift P. And we're going to say switch dev containers. If you don't have it up, switch container. And then we're going to switch the playground container. And it's all set up. That's it, what we need to do. Now, as you can see, there was on the right, it quickly popped away. You saw a little clock icon on the extension tab. That was actually the development container installing and checking all the recommended extensions for the repository. Now, we have the same repository as earlier, same code. However, now the playground has been activated, but we still need to start it. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to open a terminal, and I included for all of you a simple playground command. So we can simply say play tab autocomplete playground. Let's start our playground. Do you want to install the playground inventory? So I put in a question here, and that question is that if you choose this, it will actually overwrite the inventory file that's on that's in the project. So the current host.yaml, it will actually overwrite that with the playground inventory. Now, why is that question included? You might want to use this project template as a way of learning Ansible. That way you do not have to constantly use the additional commands I've built. And it makes it easier for your learning experience. But in my case right now, I'm going to show you how it is to work on normal servers, etc. So my host.yaml, I don't want it to be modified. That will be my live servers, everything that runs in production. But I still want to be able to interact with the playground. So I'm going to choose no. And it will say starting playground, and it's going to start 3 Docker containers to start the playground. It actually is building the playground right now live. Should have done that before I started, but at least you get to see what it looks like if you do this for the first time. So this will actually build it because this is a Docker inside this development container, which is completely empty. So there's nothing. So it has to, for the first time, it has to build the entire playground. Please note that if you destroy or reset your playground, the Docker inside this container gets a full reset. So not Docker desktop that's running on your laptop, that will all be fine. Nothing will change there, but the playground inside this development container will be wiped. So it has been started. Now, if you go to the .config directory, you can actually find the template that is placed at the root and copied over as the default host.yaml when you start the first time your project, and also includes the playground hosts. And as you can see, it's very simple. We are bypassing some SSH options because of Docker. Things change with SSH, like the fingerprint, etc. We don't want to be bothered with it. Why? It's a playground. Please remember that do not use these options in production ever. Simple as that. Never use them in production, but totally fine for the playground that we're running. It will connect to local host. That might be weird. So the Docker containers get their own IP number, etc. But I'm using port mapping in this case because that allows a universal approach, that allows that this playground and this Ansible template will work on any OS that has Docker. Regardless, networking, all kinds of technical problems or mumbo jumbo, this template will work on Windows, Linux, and Mac. That's why I'm using port mapping. And it actually puts in blatantly the password. So the Ansible Playground, it's a different GitHub repository of mine. It gets cloned in .playground here on the right, and it will set up 3 Ubuntu servers with SSH login capable of running Ansible. So you can easily make modifications to it. Hey, I want to test to a Red Hat, a server, CentOS, Alma, Linux, like you name it. You can change it and replace it with your own playground. And the only thing you need for that is you need to create a .playground directory and you need to put a Docker compose in it. That's all. And maybe modify the playground script, I just realized, because on the reset, it gets wiped. Now, please let me know with comments below if you want me to include other distributions for you to play with. Please let me know. I would be happy to build that for you guys. Now, this is the standard host file for the playground. And as I mentioned in a previous section before, we have special Ansible commands added to this environment that allows direct interaction. So that means that if I use the Ansible command like normal from the root of the project, it will use my default host.yaml file with my inventory. But if I use Ansible Playground or Ansible Playground playbooks, then it will use the playground nodes. So that's what I'm gonna do. Furthermore, little trick is that if you check out the .dev container, you will see folder, you will see that there is now a bash rc and a bash history file. They are not committed to the repository, so if you clone it, etc., they will not be committed. But these files allows you to save your bash history and your settings when you're restarting the container. After a while, you can just still use the arrow keys to go, hey, what was that command? Or check my history. How did I do that? It's all included. Just pure convenience. Let's do a ping with Ansible to quickly test hey, are the nodes running? So let's do that right now. So we're gonna do, instead of Ansible, and you can do -i and give up the inventory file from the .config directory. If you want to use the playground, there are additional commands and they start with Ansible dash. And we have here the standard playbook. We also have playground and playground playbook. Let's try to ping our playground servers. So I'm going to use the Ansible playground command for that. That's nothing more than a redirect of the Ansible command with the playground inventory from the .config folder. Ansible playground, and I'm gonna say all servers, and I'm gonna use the module ping. And there you have it, up and running. You now have sent your first Ansible commands and you can start building whatever you want. Now, in case you want to check one of the servers and see if everything what was done on the server was correct, especially during development, there's a little trick what you can do. You can actually log into the playground servers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use SSH, and we're going to use this user Ubuntu. Sorry. First, we need to use the port, and the playground servers are bind to port 2021, 2022, and 2023. So I'm going to say, well, let's just log into playground server 1. So SSH-P 2021 for the port, and we're going to log in with Ubuntu and add localhost because we're running the playground inside our Ansible environment. And it will say that you cannot log in because the host key changed. Well, there's a little option trick for that. We're just going to copy these options and we're going to paste these options, which means, hey, bypass all that security you just saw. -p 2021 Ubuntu at localhost. Now, do remember, do not use these bypasses in production ever. It is there for a reason. It is to identify and help you identify something changed regarding the server fingerprint. Investigate. Now, and it's asking for a password. Well, the password is for all the playground servers Ubuntu. It's here in the file. And here we are. We are now in a Ubuntu server running in our entire Ansible environment, in our playground, easy to use. And this template will help you get started with any kind of Ansible project, quick and fast. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. This template will help you set up and run a Ansible project quickly, but also it helps you maintain your project. It's vital to understand that when you're starting a new project, maintenance and keeping things to work is sometimes a challenging task. And having a project environment that just spins up, works where you can do your actual work instead of wasting countless hours on fixing before you can finally execute your work, that's not something anybody wants to do. So I hope that this project will help you get started, either managing your Ansible projects or learning Ansible. And if you enjoyed this video, please comment below, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. I'm Garrett, and this is TheFatRat.